What's up guys, C2113 here, and today we're going to be doing another product that was sent to me for analysis and review. Now again, like I said, I'm not going to take a product that I think even has a chance of being terrible, because it's a waste of my time and it's a waste of your time to even watch anything like that, because at the end of the day, if it sucks, I'm not going to waste my time with it. But I got contacted by this company called Launch that sells stuff on Amazon, and they specifically do some code readers, all right, OBDII code readers for cars. And so this is their base model, their 4001, your 4001 model, and so this is a base scan tool, but it does have a color display. So similar to the Autel scan tool that I did a terrible video of back a long time ago, this is going to do pretty much the same thing, have pretty much the same capability, except it's only 34 bucks, okay? And that right there is a big plus. So before I continue rambling for a long ass time, why don't we get into it? I'm just going to read to you basics on the back of the package, the product information, and then we're going to open it up. So it talks about how it's an entry-level tool, and this thing will not be able to do ABS and you know, your SRS airbag system, and probably not like complicated transmission codes and all that stuff, but it does have the ability to do manufacturer specific codes. So I'll read to you everything that it says. So your product functions are as follows. It'll do OBDII partial functions, which includes reading your trouble codes, clearing the trouble codes, and turning off your check engine light. It'll be able to read dynamic data. It'll be able to read your readiness for your inspection requirements and modules. It'll be able to read your freeze frame data. So if it sets a code off, it'll be able to show you the parameters at the time of the code set. It'll be able to read pending trouble codes. It'll be able to read permanent trouble codes. And it'll be able to show you vehicle information. Now also it can do graphing. So just like on the Autel, which costs like 80 bucks, this can show you graphs of live data, and I'm hoping it can do, you know, multiple different types. It's not just limited to certain parameters, but it can do graphing, and it's got multilingual support, and it can be updated online. So the Autel, I recently updated it. I have a new video coming out that's going to be way better than my original video, but being able to update it is always nice in case there's new functionality and that sort of thing added. It's got a color screen with a 320 by 240 pixel resolution. Pretty standard stuff. And everything else is standard. And I think this says it weighs about a half pound. So, you know, 40.44 pounds, which is about half a pound. A little less than half a pound. So that's pretty light. Less than 8 ounces. Alright, let's go ahead and open it up. So it has a very attractive button interface. It looks pretty simple. One of the things I did like about the Autel was just how simple it was to use. It was dead simple. There was no learning curve pretty much. The buttons are self-explanatory. So I'm hoping the same is true here, because sometimes, I mean, if the tool is difficult to use, you know, you can justify paying more just to get an interface you're not going to waste time with. So let's go ahead and open this up. Now one thing that I didn't like is that this package is definitely not easy to open. It's definitely not a frustration-free package. I'll put it that way. It's if you don't have a knife or something to open this, it's going to be very frustrating. I'll tell you that. Even with a knife, it's still fairly sharp. It's been a couple weeks since I sharpened this, but then again, I don't use my knife for a lot more than opening boxes and stuff. So, besides losing the razor edge, S30V holds an edge pretty well. A working edge. It holds a working edge really long. It'll lose your razor edge in about 5-6 days of hard use, but after that it'll hold its working edge for a long time, unless you're slicing through nothing but cardboard all day. Alright, let's get this last edge here, and then we'll be in. I'm really interested to see, because again, it took a long time for them to send this thing out to me, so I was always worried that they kind of were going to be a no-show. I've had several sellers and manufacturers contact me to do reviews for them, and then they just they say, we're going to send you a product, I want you to take a look, and then just nothing ever comes. So I kind of resigned myself to that fact, and then it did show up. And then I've just been busy, so I haven't been able to do a video on it. But I wanted to bring you this on a nice rainy day. And also, one of my parents left their car at home because my summer vehicle, as you know, is a 79 Continental, which is not going to interface with OBDII scanner. So I'm going to have access to one of my parents' cars, which is a 2004 Toyota Highlander, and I'll definitely be able to show you the use of this on there. And let's pull this back out. So all really you have in here is your USB cable for updating, and I'm guessing data download. And then you have your connector here, and you got a little cap. Got a little cap for your OBDII connector. Dropping everything today, right here. And that's pretty much it. And then I'm going to check if there's anything in this board. Nope, just blank inside. And one of the things I found was cool, actually, is interesting, is the color on the back is blue. I would have never expected that looking at the front here being all black, but guess it's easier to spot, right? Alright, so another thing I will just say quickly before we go outside and start testing this thing is your buttons are nice rubber buttons. So they're actually far more pleasant to click on than the Autel, which is literally one of those laminate style buttons, which, you know, they feel terrible. It's like, you know, it's like you're pushing in a bent piece of metal every time, you know. And then not to mention when that laminate layer starts to fall apart from, you know, repeated use, it gets harder and harder to push the button because literally all you're doing is you're pushing directly on a little stem underneath. Well, with these are nice silicone rubber buttons, so already points to you. Launch, this thing is great, build quality wise, and it's got a protector on the screen, so let's pull that off. Glossy screen, could get scratched, but hey, you know, it's a scan tool. And we look at our OBDII connector here. It actually looks pretty well made. I don't see any excess. A lot of the cheaper scan tools you might find, there's some manufacturing sort of burrs left over from the casting process, and they were never really machined out. But this looks pretty good. You can see it's very clean in there. All the pins are straight, so it's not going to gnarl up your car's OBDII port, and it's going to make a nice clean connection. So let's go outside. Alrighty guys, how's it going? Just did a cold start on this car, and this is the 2004 Highlander, and so obviously we're set up here, and it has booted up. So it looks like just the USB mode, you can't turn the screen on, and it's just for updating and data transfer and that sort of thing. But we have some options here, and I have to say the resolution on the screen is very nice. It's very nice and bright, easy to read. The viewing angles are surprisingly good. So let's go ahead and go into some options here. So we can go to Tool Setup, and green button is Select. Really easy to work with. Want to make sure you're in the right units. This is America, so we're going to be using Imperial. So we'll go back. Really easy to work with. Again, there is no manual pretty much, and I didn't need one. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and just go straight to Diagnose. As you can see, she's loading. So it's got to find the right protocol to use to communicate with this car. And from all the scan tools I've used on both this car and then my 2004 Town car, the Toyota always takes longer, it seems. Okay, so we have one trouble code, as you see. Readiness completed. We have 7 metrics completed. We have 3 sensor options that are not supported. We have 27 parameters that can be used and shown in a live data stream. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and hit enter. And that'll bring us into the option to read codes, erase codes, check our readiness, go to our live data basically, and check onboard monitoring and vehicle information. So let's go ahead and read these codes and see what we got going on with this car. Alright, so we got an O2 sensor heater circuit. That's low. I'm fairly certain that O2 sensor is actually bad, but that's what Happens sometimes. With a bad O2, you sent some weird codes for that, but I don't work on this car. It's my dad's car, and he takes it to a shop, but we'll see. We'll see what this ends up being. Now, if we go and we check our readiness here, we can say, since the codes have been cleared, is it ready? So your misfire is okay. Okay. I'm going to see if I can scroll. Based on this, would have me believe that, let's see. Based on this, it would have me believe that he could pass emissions and inspection. So that's good, despite that strange O2 code. So let's go take a look at live data and see what we can do with that. Actually, no. Cancel. Cancel. Almost quit out of this thing. Alright. Green button is enter. View all items. So we'll start with the whole data set first, and then we'll go into separate sets. So, okay, there you go. There's calculated load value, your engine coolant temperature. It's hot out here, so it does seem like coolant's gotten hot awfully quick, but the car's only been on for less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Alright, so as you can see, we've got heavily negative fuel trims here, but of course I think we're still running an open loop. Obviously, coolant's not even up to 170, 180 yet. Okay, let's keep going down. A little slow to respond here. So you can see our intake air temperature is pretty warm. It is hot out today, so there's that. There's our idle RPM, still a little high, so again, engine's not totally warm. Got your ignition advance there. And you have your throttle position, you've got your oxygen sensors. Now again, if you're checking out to see if you have a bad O2, graphing your O2 sensor voltage is always good. It would appear that bank 1 sensor 2 is acting a little funky there. As you see, the voltage really is not moving at all. So let's see. Whereas you see the other one, this is, was it bank 2 sensor 2? It's moving a little more, whereas bank 1 sensor 2 was sort of stuck. I will say the system's a little slow to scroll. Okay, there you go. You've got sensor 1, bank 2 sensor 1, and bank 2, hold on a second, that's the ratio. You've got bank 1 sensor 1, and then bank 2 sensor 1. So these are the most important sensors. The aft sensors after the CATs are mainly there to monitor the health and performance of the catalytic converters. So these are the sensors you really want to be able to check and see how the voltages are doing. And if they sort of stick and they aren't fluctuating that quickly, it's a good indicator that they're probably bad. So now let's see if we can graph some data here. I don't know how we're meant to do this here. Oh, okay. Select items. There we go. So if I select items, I should be able to choose specific items I want to see graphed. And let's see, how do I choose an item? Would I just hit the green? Oh, I got you. So that would select all of it. So if I want to do fuel 1 system, we'll just do that. We'll do that. Calculated load, nope. Let's do fuel trim, short term, and then long term. Actually, did I do, hold on a second. Okay, I just want my long term fuel trim. Okay, so now that we've gotten that done, can I go back? And then I'm assuming view graphic item means view a graph of it. Hit green. Oh, excuse me, my bad. So, okay. So what the select items is going to do is give you a select view of the items. So if you select like 4 items, let's see, let's say if I choose just 2 items. So I want long-term fuel trim bank 1, long-term fuel trim bank 2. If I hit enter, I should be able to then only see those items in the list to best. There we go. So now, yep, there we go. So now you can see I'm only looking at the long-term field trim for Bank 1 and Bank 2. So that gives me a specific data set. Now if I go view graph, obviously you can only see one graph at a time. So it'll give you all the same data options, and you have the choice to look at whatever you want. So for this, like I said, what this is really useful for is stuff like O2 sensor voltage. So we'll go ahead and look at your O2 sensor voltage right here. We'll go. We want the forward sensor, so we'll go the Bank 1 sensor 1. We'll hit OK, and then we'll do Bank 2 sensor 1. Okay. So you can do, that's pretty cool. You can do 2 items in one. As you see, let's see, O2 sensor 2, Bank 2 sensor 2, sensor 1, excuse me. And you can see the difference in it. Now, obviously, it'd be helpful if they stretched out the graph a bit. But the key here is you're able to see if the voltage is fluctuating. So, for example, this is a kind of a bad example because both of them are functioning. But let's say sensor 1 on Bank 1 was stuck. It was a bad sensor. So as a result, the voltage didn't fluctuate. What you'd see is your yellow going up and down, and then you see your red line just going straight across, or maybe some slight fluctuations. But basically, both should be fluctuating with about the same severity in amplitude as the other one. And if they're not, then you know whichever one is weaker is probably your bad sensor. Alright, and then finally, let's go ahead and take a look at one of the other functionalities, which is your onboard monitoring. I don't know if this is going to be able to do it. We'll see, because it says, okay, so here are your manufacturer-specific codes. Now, Toyota's, it's pretty hard to find. I know that on for example, on my town car, I can get like pages of these different manufacturer-specific codes. But it seems like with Toyota, you only have about 5 fields that you can look at. So basically, you'll want to Google what these all mean. I'm not really sure. It's different for every car. But you'll see if it says pass or fail. So this one says pass. This one says pass. This one says pass. Oh, this one says fail. Okay, so for example, this might be something like, let's say, it's a misfire monitor, right? It might say that the value acceptable is like 1 misfire per, I don't know, 1,000 revolutions or something like that, or 10,000 revolutions, but it's showing 3,277. So that's going to be a fail. Again, I don't know if that's what this is. You'll have to look up your test data title there, and then, when you find that on Google, you should be able to figure out what this means. We'll check the other ones just to see. Yep, pass. And then our last field here is also a pass. So I'll have to look up what this this data field is, because I honestly don't know. But still, like I said, considering this thing is $34 and you can get manufacturer-specific codes on here, that's pretty cool. So in conclusion, guys, I'm pretty happy with this thing. Let's go ahead and exit again. Okay, now we're back here, and you can look up codes as well. Like I said before, it's got a code library. So just like your Autel scan tool, you're going to be able to look up codes. So anyway, guys, I'm very happy with this launch. Thanks for sending this out. If you guys are looking for a scan tool and you've been considering an Autel, but you just couldn't justify the price, seriously, you might be better off going with something like this, because it's going to give you that same functionality, the same ease of use, and the same diagnostic abilities, but at probably more than half the price, or less than half the price. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you like this, hit like. If you want to see more, get subscribed. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below.